What's up, guys? It's Max mostly, and milk will fuck you up like Wolverine, which I'm going to see that shit tonight. I'm probably seeing it right now as you're watching it, unless you're watching it 5 years in the future. But milk will fuck you up far worse than these adamantium claws right here, just not as quickly. So I saw this tweet earlier by a person I'm following because he follows me, and I guess I probably liked something he said. But I did not like this. He said, breaking health tips for the people. Say no to soy latte. Say no to soy anything. Read every food label to see soy is everywhere. And I said, this is completely false. It's one thing to criticize soy GMO and soy cattle feed destroying rainforests in South America. However, it's a completely baseless accusation to claim soy gives you breasts. This has been completely disproven. And it has. And if you watch through this video, not only will I disprove that rumor from Denmark, not only will I disprove that rumor, but I will show you a lot of other fucked up shit about milk and why you should get soy over milk, even if it's GMO. GMO is not going to fuck you up health-wise, but GMO does help people that kind of want to control food supplies, and the GMOs don't even do that good after a few generations because everything around it becomes immune to it, like the pests and the weeds. So let's see. And credit to this guy, too. Credit where credit is due, because you, Mr. Trump Defense, decided to post all of my science. Look at that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Trump Defense. A truly humble person. And I sound like a robot. JP. Adios, turd nuggets. Soybean. Yeah, because I'm about to knock you out with the science here. Soybean isoflavone exposure does not have feminizing effects on men. A critical examination of the clinical evidence. The intervention data, sorry, I can't talk right now, guys. The intervention data indicate, I'm just so fucking excited for motherfucking Wolverine tonight. Is going to be the best fucking Marvel movie ever. I'm probably excited as shit watching it in the theater right now. Oh, it's good. Yes, you can watch it on a Thursday. Intervention data indicates that isoflavones do not exert feminizing effects on men at intake levels equal to and even considerably higher than are typical for Asian males. And Asians obviously eat a lot of soy. It's grown in the region. Soy sauce is pretty... Everyone knows what soy sauce is, and everyone knows you can get it at Asian restaurants, so I shouldn't have to explain how much soy Asian people use. So that's one. American Journal of Clinical Nutrition says soy consumption and prostate cancer risk. And they say the results of this analysis suggest that a consumption of soy foods is associated with a reduction in prostate cancer risk in men. This reduction may be associated with the type and quantity of soy foods consumed. So what is this? Soy is beneficial. You know, error. Everything is coming down. Is milk responsible for male reproductive disorders? Milk, is there something you don't do horribly to us? This actually has some good information in here that I really need to read to you. The role of environmental compounds with estrogenic activity in the development of male reproductive disorders has been a great source of concern. Among the routes of human exposure to estrogens, we are particularly concerned about cow's milk, which contains considerable amounts of estrogens. The major sources of animal-derived estrogens in the human diet are milk and dairy products, which account for 60 to 70% of the estrogens consumed. Humans consume milk obtained from heifers in the latter half of pregnancy when the estrogen levels in the cow are markedly elevated. The milk that we now consume may be quite unlike that consumed 100 years ago. Modern genetically improved dairy cows, such as the Holstein, are usually fed a combination of grass and concentrates, allowing them to lactate during the latter half of pregnancy, even at 220 days of gestation. We hypothesize that milk is responsible, at least in part, for some male reproductive disorders. Very interesting. Let's move on to the next one. A national survey of persistent bioaccumulative and toxic PBT pollutants in the United States milk supply. Milk, is there something you don't have in there? You know there's some pus, but I am not going to show you anything gross in this video. I don't need to show you anything gross because the science speaks for itself. The science is motherfucking gross, son. The study measured... Oh, it measured a lot. I'm not going to read all that. If you're looking at this and not listening to this, there's just like crazy words here in math, and just trust me, just the fact that the shit is in it is pretty crazy. You wouldn't suspect so many toxic compounds would be in milk. So I'm going to let you read that. Screenshot this. Okay, great. Milk and lactose intakes and ovarian cancer risk in the Swedish mammography cohort. Conclusions. Our data indicate that high intakes of lactose and dairy products, particularly milk, are associated with an increased risk of serious ovarian cancer, but not other subtypes of ovarian cancer. Or maybe they said serous, serous, S-E-R-O-U-S. So maybe they didn't mistype that. Maybe that's a subtype of ovarian cancer. I'm not a doctor. Future studies should consider ovarian cancer subtypes separately. Yeah, so this isn't medical advice. This is advice. You go and look this stuff up yourself and make your own decisions about it. Probably that soy, the breast thing, is so you don't start buying less milk, which people already are by a lot. So here we go. Milk consumption is a risk factor for prostate cancer in Western countries. Evidence from cohort studies. In Western countries, consume the most milk because we developed the gene to process it further after childhood, unlike a lot of people if you were of European descent. And this also includes anybody from Arabia and some people from India. This was achieved around 10,000 years ago. This is biologically plausible since milk contains considerable amounts of fat, hormones, and calcium that are associated with prostate cancer risk. So interesting. Let's go to another one. Whole milk intake is associated with prostate cancer-specific mortality among U.S. physicians. Most importantly, well, let's go right here. Here's the conclusions. In this prospective cohort, higher intake of skim, low-fat milk was associated with a greater risk of non-aggressive prostate cancer. Most importantly, only whole milk was consistently associated with higher incidence of fatal prostate cancer in the entire cohort and higher prostate cancer-specific mortality among cases. Sorry, I had to burp right there. Didn't want to do it in the microphone. Must be the soy milk. So, these findings add further evidence to suggest the potential role of dairy products in the development and prognosis of prostate cancer. If you're seeing the trend here, it's saying if you want to help your prostate, which is also part of your male reproductive organs, disorders, don't drink dairy. Just don't do it. If you're a kid, you're probably going to be all right. And I know dairy products, this also means everybody's favorite crack addiction, cheese, which has casomorphines in it, which is not like crack, but you know, there's something there, but I don't think they proved that. So I'm not going to show you that bullshit. Dairy products, calcium and prostate cancer risk in the physician's health study. Oh my God, will it stop? Conclusions. These results support the hypothesis that dairy products and calcium are associated with greater risk of prostate cancer. Now, I don't know about that, the calcium part, because I don't know if they have tested that versus leafy green, because leafy greens have a bunch of calcium in them. In fact, more than milk. And I don't think leafy greens are associated with any risk of cancer, period. That's my opinion. You can look that up. It's not for this video. High and low-fat dairy intake, recurrence and mortality after breast cancer diagnosis. This is a big one. If you have a wife, if you have a mother, if you have people in your family that are susceptible to breast cancer, at least read this study. Look, screenshot. There, you just screenshotted the entire thing. You're good. Show it to your family. Send it to them. So the conclusions: intake of high-fat dairy, but not low-fat dairy, was related to a higher risk of mortality after breast cancer diagnosis. I'm not going to read all that, but go ahead and check this out. It's worth looking up. All right, one more here. Type 1 childhood onset diabetes. I am looking at you, Mr. Jonas brother. Early exposure to cow's milk proteins have been implicated in the pathogenesis of type 1 diabetes. Why? An enhanced humoral immune response to various CM proteins in infancy is seen in a subgroup of those children who later progress to T1D. So the role of cow's milk as a trigger of the autoimmune process leading to type 1 diabetes is supported by epidemiological data showing that early dietary exposure to CM proteins increase the risk of beta cell autoimmunity, blah, 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 blah. Read this study. You know where it's at. You see the thing at the top here. You can go to any of these studies. You can just type in any of these words into Google and you will find the study and be able to read them. Otherwise, screenshot the stuff. And that's all I had for you. Milk will fuck you up. Not nearly as bad as the adamantium claws will in the moment, because I know how tasty cheese is. There's other products. There's Daya. That's shit's like butter. That shit is beautiful. It's great. It's good stuff. And fucking Wolverine tonight. Yes, motherfucker. Oh, can't wait to see that movie. So, Trump defense, thanks for sparking a good video for me. Thanks for being humble enough to somewhat, seems like you retracted the statement and retweeted all my stuff. Either way, you're spreading another point of view, and I think that's great. Happy to be one of your followers and happy that you're following me. And y'all have a good one. And don't forget to see my new Meme War picture off on my page. I got PewDiePie in there now. I put the Wall Street Journal in here now because of, PewDiePie. And I got Politico in here now. I'm going to be making some videos about them too. So y'all have a good night. I'm going to have a great night because I'm going to watch Wolverine. And it's going to be awesome.